the cup and the league all to be won. Everyone knows there's a job to be done, and with a team so fine, I'm proud they're mine. We'll be singing this song. For we're the Forest Dunfermline Athletic, and now we are on song. For we're the Forest Dunfermline Athletic, and we'll go marching on.
The Dunfermline Athletic Former Players Association podcast is sponsored by Starnut Apparel. Affordable and stylish clothing born on the terraces. Just head to www.starnutapparel.co.uk.
Welcome to Walking Down the Holbeath Road, the podcast brought to you by the Dunfermline Athletic Former Players Association. I'm your host Mikey Motkiewicz, and in each episode we'll be deep diving into the heart and soul of the Pars, celebrating the legends who have graced the pitch at East End Park. Here we connect with former players, managers and coaches, reliving their memorable moments, personal triumphs and the challenges they faced during their career in football. From stunning victories and cup runs to the behind-the-scenes stories, we'll bring you exclusive interviews with the people who have lived and breathed DAFC. In this latest episode, we speak to a former defender, Scott McCulloch, who joined the Pars in December 1997 from Gamilton Accies. Bob, as he was well known amongst his teammates, started his career at Glasgow Rangers, learning from the legends of the 9-in-a-row era. In his early 20s, he was involved in a near-fatal car accident, which could have not only ended his career, but ended his life. However, he got himself back on track and carved out over 300 games in professional football. In this podcast, he speaks all about his time in the game, his affection for Dunfermline Athletic, and what he learned most from Bert Payton and Dick Campbell. So let's head through the turnstiles, pull up a seat, and enjoy this one with Scott McCulloch.
It is going to be McCulloch, and it's straight through! What a strike from Scott McCulloch! And Dunfermline have bounced back, and how?
Well, I think they're going to ask questions here about the goalkeeper. It's his side of the wall, McCulloch. It's a fantastic strike, arrow straight, but really Dykes is covering that side, and I'm sure Paul Sturrock will be very, very upset. This is going to be the best angle of the lot. You see McCulloch, it's a great strike, it's roll, it's a daisy cutter, and Dykes are slow to react, and the ball fairly whistled into the corner, and no wonder Bert Payton has got that rather large grin on his face.
Thanks for joining us on this latest episode of Walking Down the Holbeath Road. Scott McCulloch, how are we doing, Scott?
I'm really good, thanks. Thanks for asking me on, I appreciate it.
We've been trying to plan it for a wee while, so it's great to finally catch up and speak to you.
Yeah, no, it took a wee bit of planning, so we'll go here eventually, thankfully.
Good man, good man. Right, we'll start this one with some quick fire questions. So, when you played, what was your favourite pair of football boots to wear?
A bit old school. I was a Copa and a World Cup wearer. That was my boots through my career. Towards the end, those the covered boots come in, but no, I was a purely Copa and World Cup man.
Perfect, absolute classics. If you could play for any club in the world right now, who would it be?
Quite a strange one, but my team, as and always, has been Cumnock Juniors.
I seen that. Is that a link with your dad? Did your dad play for them or manage them or something?
My granddad played nearly 20 years. My dad was nearly 20 years, and I never played with Cumnock.
Is that a bit of regret then in your career?
I know. Thankfully, my career took me to Bertley Cumnock, with due respect. But when I was a wee boy, it's different. Like the similarities between Fife and Ayrshire. Ayrshire junior fit when I was a wee boy was massive, and all I wanted to do when I was a wee boy was play with Cumnock. That was my ambition. Luckily, I was proved to be a higher standard than that. But when I was a wee boy, I was content with Cumnock. But I never got a chance to play, which is a bit of regret. But it got to the point at the end of my career, I was mid-30s, and as I said, my dad and my granddad had played there all their career, and I could have ruined that reputation in 3 months. I was the one to get me at my best. I would have done it just to say I'd done it, and I didn't want to do that.
Aye, nowhere black and white, I'm right in saying, eh?
Black and white, yeah, similar to the Pars, yeah.
There you go. You've got to wear it later on.
It's quite funny because there's actually quite a few folk that come up with Dunfermline, which is really strange. Myself, Kel McCausland, Paul Burns, Derek Stilley, off a wee town in Ayrshire, I end up playing with Dunfermline. It's really strange anomaly.
Brilliant, I didn't know that. I'm right in saying that like the junior teams through that way get really big crowds, don't they? They're big.
They did. It's probably no as big as it used to be back in the day. Like the Come at Talbot games would always get a couple of thousand every time they played. Whereas now it's took a bit of a dip. It's probably the same with Dunfermline. The crowds seem to be dwindling a wee bit. And it's no MD's doing. The world's changed, but no, they still get good crowds. They're still in big games get big attendance. Like the Come at Talbot played in the Scottish Cup this year, the TV game, and that kind of got a few thousand at the game. So no, they're still well attended, but it's not what it used to be like. It's probably similar to a lot of teams. You probably look back a wee bit nostalgia. But no, it's evolved a lot.
Brilliant. Right, next one. Favourite band and song?
I'm a big Stone Roses fan. I'm a Resurrection. Stone Roses is probably my favourite song, and my favourite band's the Stone Roses.
Top class. Did you ever get a chance to go and see them?
Yeah, I've seen them a few times, yeah. Big fan.
Superb. Is that a band you've liked since you were like a teenager?
Aye, it's something that stuck with me throughout my career. I've got quite an eclectic taste in music, but I'm quite rigid with certain bands. I'm a big fan of Stone Roses.
Brilliant, great choice. If there was one match you wish you could replay in your career, what would it be and why?
There's a question. There's got a few. I wouldn't say there's one in particular. There's a lot of Dunfermline games that I really enjoy. That some of the experience with Dunfermline, the game against Celtic, the game towards the end of the season when we kind of stopped that party atmosphere with the kind of TV game as well, which was a big thing with Dunfermline because I don't think they'd many live TV games for East End before. So there's been a lot of times at Dunfermline I've really enjoyed the experience. We also had a really good record at Ibrox for some reason as well. So it's a lot of games like that. And people can ask, but do you miss football? I would say no. I miss games. I miss playing. I miss dressing rooms. I don't miss training. I don't miss, but you miss a Saturday, the kind of camaraderie and just games. So I would probably be quite generic and say I miss just playing. I miss the fear on a Saturday to go out with your mates and have that kind of shoot agenda and go and try and get like a victory. But one game in particular, I wouldn't say so. No.
No, we'll touch on that game. That was just a class day. It was proper hot, sunshine, and the lads
we wore all black, and it was roasting.
And remember, that kit was really thick. It was like a heavy, like cotton material, wasn't it?
It was a rugby strip. It was obviously for marketing purposes. They try to go all black to maybe get the fans to purchase for the following season. But was they well thought through? Because genuinely, I don't know if you spoke to other players, it was absolutely roasting.
Yep, it was a hot day. I remember it well. Last one for this section. The nickname Bob. Where did that come from?
It's my dad's name. I went to Rangers when I was younger, and a few of the kind of younger boys called me Bob. It's called my old teammates. Kind of stuck there. My first day at Ibrox, again to kind of touch on the kind of junior football thing. I was always getting compared to like my dad and my granddad, and come in a wee town. Oh, you're never as good as your papa, never as good as your dad. You look back at it now and you take a bit of pride in it, but at the time it really annoyed me. I was like 15, 16 and I was going to Rangers and there's folks saying, you'll not be good as your dad. My dad would play me Cumnock and you're sitting going, no, I'm going to Rangers, and my dad's like, I like to think I'm going to go to have a career. So as I said, then it annoyed me, whereas now you look back a bit of pride. But Cumnock Juniors won the Junior Cup in the late 80s and Alan McCoy did the commentary. So in my first day at Ibrox, you're given your chores. So my chores was I was in the first team dressing room, doing the boots, tidying up the kit and all that. And Mr. McCoy asked me, what's your name, Biggie? I was saying, Scott McCulloch. And he said, very fair. I said, Cumnock. And he went, you big Bobby's boy. So that was me straight away, like, Jesus, I can't get away from that kind of wee toon mentality. So on the back of the kind of younger kids, the arenas calling me Bob, and McCoy was calling me Bob, but just throughout my career, it was Bob, to the point that a lot of folk didn't realise my actual name wasn't Bob. The Rangers club doctor used to write prescriptions to him and the name Robert, because he thought my name was Roberts, and no, my name's Scott, Doc. So no, need it fit my called me Scott.
Back to the start. Born November 1975 in Cumnock, Ayrshire, like you say. What was life like growing up in Cumnock for a young Scott McCulloch?
It was great because we're all the similarity between Ayrshire and Fife, as we'll probably touch home. Like when I got to Dunfermline later life, it was kind of a mining town. My dad was a miner, a striking miner, which you look back now during the times, we didn't have much, but near the end of the day. So when you've not got much and there's people in the same area as you not get much, it's a really good kind of camaraderie within the town. I've not got to plead poverty until I was dragged up, but that's not the case at all. I had a brilliant, loving upbringing and a really good circumstance, a really good community. So no, again, with the kind of background, I think it shapes you in later life, and it shapes you as a person. So no, that plays a major part in me as a person who I'm still living Cumnock, which tells you something.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. And what about playing football? You'd mentioned obviously going to watch Cumnock juniors grow up, and you loved that.
That was my team growing up, still is. That's what we did. Played football, went to watch Cumnock at the weekends, played with local boys clubs. That was my kind of start, playing with local boys clubs. Played above my age for a number of years. I was always quite a big boy, and I managed to hold my own at kind of different age groups. Then you get picked up and get scouted later, and you went about a few clubs before I took the decision to plump for Rangers. I was quite fortunate that I had a really good kind of schoolboy, kind of younger career, and I had a few options when I got to a certain age. So no, we plumped for Rangers at that time, and that was my kind of start of my professional career.
Brilliant. Let's touch on that then. Joining Glasgow Rangers at that point, Rangers are flying, they're doing their 9-in-a-row thing and all the rest of it. Walter Smith. What was it like going to an institution like Rangers?
It was a bit. It's overawed because you don't appreciate when you're like 15, 16 when you go for like your youth football into like proper football. Like your first day when you're 16, you're in full time is pre-season. It's an absolute shock to the system. Can you go for watching games on TV like that? But Rangers didn't have a training complex, so we every day we were at Ibrox. So every day you're walking in the front door at Ibrox and you're mixing with the first team, training the pre-season with the first team, and the week before you run about playing with your mates, and a week later you're then pre-season running with McCoy to Loudrop and things like that. It's a bit scary when you think back. It stands you in good stead again for in later life when you go through your career, because I think if you learn to deal with situations like that, it puts you in a good position. But looking back now, it's quite scary. As a club at that point, again with hindsight, you could have said that the focus on Rangers at that point was just winning. There wasn't a huge hopes in youth development or looking at pathways or trying to encourage youngsters to come through. It was winning games, winning titles, winning championships, that ceased the Rangers kind of mentality at that time, because they're just desperate to keep on that juggernaut churning. You could had the chance to say with smaller teams, and do you go to a smaller team and play first team football, or do you go to a bigger team and take your chances? And it's always like an adage. People ask me now, could you wait to like my local teams like Ayr and Kilmarnock, to went to Ayr or Kelly and played in the first team, or go to Rangers? Who knows? I've got my own take on that. I think going and mixing and chuck your hat in the ring and try to make it a big club. If you didn't do it, always that wee bit of regret. But no, you look back now and you think, I was there 3 years, never played a first team game. But you see some of the reserve teams. I played in reserve teams with like 9-10 internationalists. So sometimes get a game with the reserve teams, it was an achievement.
If you get the opportunity to play for or go to a club like Rangers or Celtic, you'd always regret not going, wouldn't you? Doesn't matter if you're not going to play.
No, I think you've got to. So no, I was there. People say, who do you play with? And I always purposely leave Rangers out, because I never felt as if I played with Rangers. I was there 3 years and never played a first team game. So folk talk about your career, who do you play with? I started at Rangers. I wouldn't say I played with Rangers, if that makes sense. I always think my career started the day I left Rangers, and then that my journey started. I thought Rangers gave me an amazing grounding, taught me a lot of things as a football player, and also as a human being, because it was quite a rigid, harsh environment to learn in. But I think it shaped me as a professional moving forward. But I would never class myself as a Rangers player.
See, when you were at Rangers, were you part of that culture? You had to turn up suited and booted for training?
Every day we'd wear a suit, clean shaven, just well turned out. It was just standards all the time. Even you're in for treatment, if it's a day off and you're in to see the physio, you still to turn up properly attired.
Crazy, yeah. So let's talk about Walter Smith then. What was he like to work under?
Again, with Gaffer, you're taking a chance calling Walter. At that point, it was just so driven. Like every day, it was just the mentality was just churning out victories week after week. Like whether it's Wednesday, Saturday, or every Saturday, it's just training to win games of football. There wasn't loads of coaching, wasn't a lot of folks in other teams. It was just about winning games. And because we played reserve, we'd limited interactions with them. In fact, we'd won. I'd one good one. We played a reserve game at Clydebank, and I was running with the ball and I overran it slightly. And one of the defenders stepped out, and I thought the way he stepped out, he was going to try to really, really hurt me. Like the way he shaped his body, I thought he was going to try and go over the bar to try to hurt me. So I decided to be a wee bit smarter and try to do him back. Cut a long story short, it was a really shocking tackle for me, and I was lucky to get sent off. The referee ran up and he gave the yellow card, and I thought I was going to get sent off, and I was really happy he didn't send me off. So I went to run back to the halfway line, and I turned around and Walter Smith was in the touchline with my number and the board hooked up. Off he come. I didn't even know he was at the game.
Wow.
So
Your heart must have sank at that point, thinking, I'm done.
Well, that's heart sank. I would go as far as to say I absolutely shat myself. He took me after it and gave me the biggest gutting out you've ever heard in your life about representing the club and blah blah blah. Oh, I was 17 in the direction of these floods of tears because we just gave it an absolute roasting.
Wow.
Cut long story short, the next day at Ibrox, and one of the young boys came and says, "Bob, the Gaffer's right in his office." I thought, here we go. This is me again, and he took me in and sat down and he said, "I'll sleep my last night. Well done, you. Stick up for yourself. Don't let me bully you. On you go." So it was just a classic thing where he dealt with the time, put me in my place, and the next day he kind of butted me back up and got me back on track because I was done. The next day I thought my career was over, but he didn't realise that. Brought me in, had a wee chat, then we quite quickly reset and moved on. But
good man management here.
But just at that point, it was just I think I said it was a bit of a juggernaut. They just won games of football. Just if you watch the first team training, all they did was play 5 sides, some possession drills, and there was no shape coaching. There was never a discussion with the opposition team.
Crazy, eh?
They just went and won games of football.
I suppose it's quite similar now what you're saying about the whole youth side of the old firm. That they're not interested in bringing through youth. Right? It's all about winning. That's the culture.
Aye, and
it's never going to change.
And it's sad to a certain extent because a lot of kids, I feel look at the amount of kids they brought in full time every year, the amount of people, well, not just Rangers players, the Scottish leagues, the amount of players who are there compared to the percentage who actually physically make it, it's quite scary.
Yeah.
Like in my group with Charlie Miller, won't have a really good career at Rangers, won't have a very good professional career. Then 2 years below us, below me, you'd be Shields, who we'll probably talk about later on, who are passed across the game. But in terms of numbers, Charlie, Shieldsy, big Scott Wilson again, Dunfermline, we played a few first team games, and Barry Ferguson. Out that 5 years, in terms of my kind of age group, there was only 3 or 4 folk on any decent Rangers career.
Yeah, was there any there that you thought at youth level, this guy's like brilliant, he's going to make it, and then they end up just not achieving anything?
Genuinely, you could take him out of your team. We had probably 10 or 11 of the best players of that age group in the country. I'll give you an example. We played Hearts in the BP final. I think Hearts had a really good youth team. And within 2 or 3 seasons, every Hearts player played first team, I think. Then we had won with Charlie. So we had an age group with Hearts, who they invested in youth and looked at a bigger picture, and they brought a lot of players through. I'm pretty sure either them all or a high percentage of them all want to play first team, a really good standard. We Hearts on our team. When at Rangers, it was only really Charlie. Then I want to play with, obviously, Dunfermline in the Premier League, but there's a lot of players who are top players who are lost to the game. It's just because they just that that cauldron, because it's just a breeding mentality of winning. It's not a coaching mentality. It's not they're no interested in taking time and polishing the diamond. They want to just have that winning all the time.
Yeah.
And with that, you get a really harsh environment where people are cast aside really quickly and replaced really quickly.
It's a hard environment. You leave in 1994 and sign for Hamilton, and that's when you're saying your career properly started. So what was it like going to Hamilton Accies at that point, and obviously being a first team footballer?
So funny thing was, I had a car crash. Was at Rangers. I was out for about a season. I had a really bad car accident, and a game. I came back and I was physically fit, but I probably wasn't. In the modern days, there's probably much more underlying things I had to go and deal, because obviously I was in hospital for a long time, tested okay for 4 or 5 days. I was really real rough time with it. Then quite quickly got myself physically fit, but I wasn't the same player. I was the same person. I had a lot of things to strip back and deal before I can move on as a player. So at that point at Rangers, I wasn't myself. I wasn't playing great. I just wasn't myself. So went to Hamilton, just try to re-establish myself. But it took me a long time just to get myself fit and physically and mentally ready to play men's football. Because when you play at Rangers, you play a lot of reserve games and youth games, and the men's game's completely different. And I found that really quickly. It was a real shock to the system when you go for every day at Ibrox in the marble staircase, and you go into the dressing rooms and you're getting looked after by all these staff, and you've got the kitchen staff and the meals prepped, and it's life of luxury. Then you got to Hamilton. Came all due respect to Hamilton at the time, that it was, to say chalk and cheese with an understatement.
Yeah, it's a real world, isn't it?
The real world, but I felt as if at that point I had to go and play. I had to go and play proper football, football that meant something. All due respect, if you win the reserve league, who cares? Whereas if you go to a club and you're playing for relegation with promotion, you're playing for win bonuses, you're playing for a move, you're playing. As I said, I'd like to think I had a decent reputation when I was younger, but that became non-existent because you're quite quickly forgotten about. You get to the point you're 19 or 20 and people are talking. You used to be a good player. I'm 20-year-old, so I like to think of a chance to kind of re-establish myself. So that was my thinking. My thing going to Hamilton. It took me a wee bit of time. It's also a strange day because you have to find out where your position is, because you find when you're left-sided, you end up playing wide left back, left centre half, and you end up getting messed about a wee bit. Sometimes when you're a lefty, you end up getting tagged with a bit of versatility. I went to Hamilton at Rangers. I hardly played left back. I was always a midfield player. Despised playing left back, because in my opinion, if you played left or right back, it's because that's where you end up getting stuck. So I wasn't a huge fan of left back, but obviously ultimately when my career evolved, I became predominantly a left back. But at that point, I was 20-year-old. You could count in one hand the amount of games I'd played in my career at left back. So it's these things like, where do I play? Where do I fit? What's my style? Where am I going? Because Hamilton, although it was my chance to kickstart my career, also created a bit of a crossroads. It needs to work. If it doesn't work at Hamilton, you're not going to, you're not a footballer. You need to come up with a different idea of what you're going to do in your life, or you head down and make it work and kick on again. So I was quite confident once I get myself fit, I could kick on again.
How did you get through that period? Obviously, you mentioned physically and mentally, obviously having a car accident. How did you get through that? Because I'm guessing back then there would be very little support within football like it would be nowadays. No,
it was, Rangers were brilliant in terms of physically get my body right. But looking back now, through kind of the lens, known society, know how things evolved. I wasn't right emotionally, mentally. I had a lot of things that I had to deal with. But physically, I came back too quick. The truth be told, I came back because I felt okay. But then people start judging you with their eyes and seeing what they're seeing, but they don't realise that I'm going through a process.
Yeah.
But the way it is at clubs at Rangers, when you're working to contract, and there's that churn, and it's that kind of really cutthroat environment, but you don't get time to find your feet and re-establish yourself. You need to get back playing well quickly. And I felt that pressure. And I wasn't ready. I should have pulled been stronger and took my time, and probably just let my contract run out rather than get backtracked, play too quick.
Yeah, I suppose that pressure, like you're saying, that environment, you're kind of forced into that kind of mentality.
Well, actually, I came back. I'd looked at internal issues. I ruptured my spleen. I lost my spleen. I had issues with my lungs collapsed. Then after that, my lungs collapsed twice during the season. It's things like that. When I say lungs, I mean lungs. Obviously, one of them. So it's things like that. You come up a bit flippant. I'm back in hospital because my lung needs a bit of work again. So we're not talking about a tight hamstring. We're talking in hospital for a few days, getting your lungs into again.
Yeah. Tough times, mate. You done well to get through it.
I did well to get through it. Also, I was unlucky, but also very lucky. And I think the kind of glass half full kind of thought process with me at that point was I felt lucky to get through it. I didn't feel as if I was unlucky. I genuinely felt I was lucky to continue to be playing because all my injuries were internal. My legs were fine. My head was fine. It was on my midriff and my chest.
So you go to Hamilton. Who was the manager at Hamilton at that point?
It was Ian Monroe. Ian Monroe, another connection with Dunfermline. Ian Monroe was probably one of the best coaches I've ever played with. Really good coach. Training was brilliant. Really good environment he created with a lot of good players. At that time, he was probably more renowned for his coaching than his management. I wouldn't say it in a disparaging way. He was, in terms of putting on a session and managing that. But as a manager, he probably needed a bit more run about him. But as a coach, it's probably as good as you'll get.
It seems to be the same kind of chat we've had from his time at Dunfermline in the early 90s.
Right.
Really good coach on the training ground, but the actual management and player side of it, he's struggled.
No, I really enjoyed my time with him. I thought he was quite innovative. He was quite full of thinking. His sessions, even back then, were different. What you tend to find is when you're involved with, it's not criticise the kind of lags mentality with the coaching courses. Sometimes the training can become a bit repetitive. But it doesn't matter what club you go to, what coach you get. The sessions can be quite similar. Was with me, Monroe. It was very difficult. It would do some quite bizarre things, but you're thinking, what does this tie in? But then it does. It was quite innovative, and I really enjoyed my time with him.
Brilliant stuff. You played 52 games at Hamilton between 94 and 97. And then let's talk about the good stuff. You get the chance to sign for the Mighty Pars. So 2nd of December 97, you signed for £60,000. How did the move come about, and what's your memories of first meeting up with Bert and Dick?
The move came about. I was trying to get away from Hamilton. I had a few options because I was under, I forget the age, 23 or something like that. I couldn't go in a free. But plus, similar to it is now, there was conversation involved, there transfer fees involved. But there's a few clubs sniffing about. And then Dunfermline came in. Also went and met, I think we met Bert the first time in Glasgow. And obviously, as soon as you meet Bert, you're not only got to sign. There's no other option but coming to sign. Me and my dad went to meet him. We just had so much respect for the guy because he was very, very honest. It just was like talking to one of your own. He was just like, aye. So we met Bert. Unfortunately, we agreed the deal. I had to go back to Dunfermline to finish my contract. I had 2 more games to play before I could sign. Once I with Dunfermline, that would trigger the kind of compensation process, the tribunal process. But I was signing anyway. So I'm back, notified Hamilton. Then in my last game, we could play Dundee, and I had the distinction of my last game. Hamilton scored 2 own goals. Scored 2 own goals. Two own goals against Dundee. We were near the top of the league at the time. Hamilton were in money problems with a few good players. Myself got a move. We Josie Katongo at the time moved on as well. A couple of other boys, Paul Hartley, with a good wee team. But unfortunately, there was money difficulties and they needed to cash in a few of the players. So went to the firm, and after we met Dick and Bert. As I said, once we met with them, there was never much option as to where we're going to go.
That's it. Brilliant. What was your early memories of Bert and Dick Campbell?
They've not changed. Obviously, I'm still in contact with Dick yet, and he's just obviously I end up moving with Dick a few times in later career too, with a few different clubs, because it's people you trust, just people that will tell you the truth. There's no airs and graces. They don't mind to rub up the wrong way, because I think if you love your coaching, your managerial ethos, if you love your life in terms of just being honest with people, I think it'll stand you in good stead. And the one thing that I think a lot of the old players will say about Dickenberg is the one thing that worried me was brutally honest. Sometimes, and I use the word brutal, and I don't underestimate it, but I don't mind brutal honesty. The time that they were honest with me when I was going for Hamilton, it was a big move for me, obviously. I since found out that kind of Dick did his kind of research with me through Rangers, and different people asked a lot of questions about me, as a player, me as a person. So, no, and I went there and embraced the situation, because at that point I was an established left back at Hamilton. That was me. I was playing. I'd been played a few positions, but I was a left back, so I knew when I was signing what was going to do and why I was being signed. I think I get out on the back. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we took a few sore ones. I think we had Ibrox and lost a few, and a couple of really bad results, and I came in on the back of that.
I'd heard as well Dunfermline were trying to sign you the previous season from Hamilton, and it couldn't quite get it through. Were you aware of that one?
There was a few, as I said, at that point, Hamilton wanted a bit of money. It's a funny story to tell. I could have went abroad. See that time with the Bosman, I could have went abroad on a free, but I couldn't go for a free in Scotland. So I'd actually a few moves lined up to go abroad. No, because I wanted to go abroad. It was so on go abroad, stay for 3 or 4 months and come back as a free transfer. It was just trying to manipulate the kind of rules at the time. So, but Hamilton won the daft. It was Sandy Clark was there, the manager, and with a bid came in a notification came in for a club in France to let them know I was going to go and sign with them on a free transfer. And Sandy knew we're just trying to work the system. And he asked me to come for a meeting. I went to the meeting in the boardroom, and he was sitting with a table full of French fancies and baguettes and all the French food. He said, "You think I'm fucking stupid? It's not happening." So there was a few clubs, but I said because it was in Scotland or the UK, there was money involved. I had to let my contract run out. Then Simon Dunfermline, then that would trigger the tribunal. But they agreed a fee out with it. You say 6, I still don't know what they paid, so if it was 60, it was 60.
According to the research, it was 60 grand, so there you go.
We're proud to sponsor this podcast. At Flow Clinic, we are committed to helping more people take control of their health. If you're looking to lose weight safely and effectively, we are helping thousands of patients do just that. No waiting rooms, no fuss. From consultation to delivery straight to your door. All done conveniently and discreetly online. Find out more at flowclinic.com. That's PHLO clinic.com. Flow Clinic, your health in your hands.
Early days at East End Park. Do you remember your debut? Who it was against?
Was it Paradise?
It was indeed.
It's Paradise up there. I think we had a decent result.
It was
Draft the one. So I think on the back of quite a few sore ones. I can remember that people were really happy with the performance. Not only by me, but the team, and getting the clean sheet, because that point Paradise was quite a tough place to go.
Yeah, they were a good team. They had the boy Olafson up front, did they know at that point? He was good. Scandinavian guys.
He was there, and Andy. I always remember Andy McCulloch. I was always tough to play against. I liked Andy a lot of time for Andy, and throughout my career, and I think he was playing that day as well.
Great player. So the early times at East End Park, the dressing room. Who was the players you were close to?
Shields was probably the only one that I knew. I knew Greg from my time at Rangers. So Greg really, and Lorraine, his wife, really helped me settle in when I moved through. Because believe it or not, when I first signed up there, I tried to travel, which quite quickly became apparent that it's too far. So I ended up moving through, and Greg and Lorraine were major helps to get me up and settled in and find a place to live and just settling in general. So no, Greg was probably the main one, but to have the dressing rooms, it was actually a really good dressing room even at the time, even you think back, because at that point there was no big hitters. There was everybody's in it together, everybody's the same, everybody had the same kind of, was the same situation. We're all fighting for a shared cause. It was very good. And I also need to mention some of the older projects of Colin Miller come in, and obviously I was in as direct competition to Colin through position, but I think the way Colin responded to that was a mark of the guy, because he was first class, helpful, really understand the situation, and helped me massively, but even in training sessions and coaching, and I thought his attitude was really good. At that point, too, we'd also like Alan Moore, who had a brilliant Dunfermline career, was probably getting towards the end of it, but Dick and Bert were working mean shields defensively, and with like a wee Moody who's every afternoon with us, just one v ones. And for somebody who had the career that wee Moody had to be doing that to try to help younger players along, I thought was fantastic.
Brilliant. You did Stuart Petrie on the other side as well.
Stuart Petrie was playing in front of me for a number of games. It was an absolute joy to play behind, because you just gave Stuart the ball, and Stuart, it was a workhorse. It was great to play with, because we probably reduced him at running I needed to do, because Stuart would work that full left side, and I could just sit at the back and do my thing.
It was a great, like, from a supporter point of view, it was just great times under Bert and Dick as a fan, like watching guys, Evo Dembimans and Mark Miller, Colin Miller, you guys, Toddy, Hamish French, Andy Smith. You go on and on. Brilliant times.
It was great. With so many good pros, but with pros you could actually sit back and learn from. Like Hamish French was the ultimate pro. He trained so hard. He looked after himself. He was just the nicest man you could ever meet, and he still is. You'd just good, honest, hard-working pros. You'd pros who maybe for certain fans or people who don't understand the nuances of the game, like Harry Curran was a brilliant professional, a great teammate, and somebody who I thought was an unbelievably good player, but probably divided opinion slightly, because a lot of people probably underestimated the role he had in the team. Whereas I think now, the way modern football's changed, you probably appreciate Harry's role now by the way he plays with that midfield. But at that point, he probably was underestimated as a player and as a teammate. But I can assure you, as a team at that point, we all appreciated the role that people that Harry played.
You're not the only one that said that. From this era, so many players say he's the most underrated player. The fans just gave him so much abuse and stick, and he didn't deserve it.
People talk with Harry that season, and then the season later, I think Derek Ferguson came in, and I talk about the two of them very similarly. People talk about brave players. Don't get confused with brave players that run about with bust heads and blood spilling out. Brave players are players that take the ball, help teammates out, and will always take. Harry Curran, Derek Ferguson were two of the bravest players I've ever played, because they always took the ball. Harry, you're right, got a hard time for the punters. Always took the ball, never had. And I think as a marker, a player, as a person, it was unbelievable the fact that he kept doing that. Derek Ferguson, the full season was the same. Derek, I think, was on admissions probably get towards the end of his career, but really brave. Always, with him playing left back, was always an insight to take the ball off me. He was always looking for the ball. I think it's important as young players, when you're learning the game now, when you talk about football bravery, that's that. It's taking the ball, being available, no hiding. And Harry epitomised that season, because I thought he was a brilliant teammate.
Superb. And where is he now? Because we cannot find him. We have tried for years.
Absolutely no idea.
Nah.
Unlike when he played, we could find him quite easily.
Yeah.
Now he's disappeared.
Every boy's saying the same. Like, nobody's seen him for years.
So no, but as a team at that point, it was a brilliant dressing room. As I said, there was that kind of shared goal. It was just Dick and Bert created a really good atmosphere. And I think looking back to it with a few no bad players.
Aye, brilliant times. You mentioned Alan Moore, another guy, Jerry Britton. Some real characters in that dressing room. What about any stories? Is there any that spring to mind that you can tell us?
Probably not I could tell, but to say Jerry, and you probably heard a few of them too, with Jerry stealing Big Ava's motor and all that, and driving about the track. And there's some days with the exploding hairdryers. We Geordie Moulton, we Geordie Shaw had the exploding hairdryer, with Jerry rewired it, and I think we ended up one day with George's jacket was up the flagpole one day, and all we played a game. There's never a dull moment. It was just good natured, fun. Never really close to the line. It was just good fun every day. Well, and it was just a good bunch of boys. I could tell you can later in career or later in life, you go through times of dressing rooms. There's always divides. There's always people that know your cup of tea. The feminine wasn't the case. It was just such a fun time.
Real togetherness, eh? That's the impression I get for everybody I speak to during that kind of time.
No, I can't emphasise it enough. As I say, we didn't have very much. The club was going through a transition in terms of financially. There was, I can assure you, the players weren't sitting in fortunes. Well, I wasn't, and I got the impression that nobody else was. It was just a real good united dressing room, and we all wanted what's best for. And we all I think we all had a real close feel for the club. The club I met some. I moved through. I really enjoyed my time there. It was probably, even now, it's probably one of the few clubs that I played with. I always kind of look back and check results and have that real affinity with.
Do you think that came from Bert and Dick because it was their club?
I think it was. I think that they left you in no uncertain terms about the club, the community, the stature of the club, what the club meant to a lot of people, particularly about big games. That in their own wee way, they'd a brilliant way to try to break tension. They played the goal, they played the fool to break tension. You probably heard stories today with Dick turning up for team talks with his boiler suit on and singing songs, and it's just to break tension. I think we played Rangers at Ibrox, and I think we're drawing 0-0 half time, and we're giving them a hard time, and they'd Anthony Niemi in goals, and I was quick around corners and free kicks, and they were struggling a wee bit. And Bert's at half time telling me, "That's it, Bob. Keep on top of that French cunt." As they all talk a lot story about, well, aye, but no, but it would do daft things, say things, and get dressed room laughing. I think it did the same with David Big Smudger up at St John's with the boy Alan Kernigan, and he was telling Smudger we gave him cat with England, and at that point he'd 45 cats for Republic of Ireland. So again, it creates that laugh, it get funny, and sometimes before games at half time it's tense. Not Dunfermline, it's fun because Dick and Bert made it so.
Aye, brilliant, mate, brilliant. Your first season, we finished 8th in the Premier League. You played 19 games. And then the second season, it was a bit of a tougher season. But one game, 15th of November 1998, live on Sky. One of your best moments in Dunfermline shirt. Do you remember that one?
Aye, I think you're talking the Celtic game.
No, Dundee United, live.
Oh, the Celtic game. Oh, because I talked about Celtic. Oh, the Sky game. Aye, that was... I don't think Dunfermline had many, if any, live games on Sky before. I think it was the first live game.
It was, you're right. First one, yeah. And the stadium had just been redeveloped. I think it was the kind of showcase.
And I think they had a few initiatives that season about ticket pricing. Mm-hmm. There's a few games that they reduced tickets, and I think we get really good attendances for a few of the games. When I think it was like kids came free, or I don't know what it was exactly, but there's a few games that decided to change the structure, and it was... place was mobbed. I played, and they scored. Did they score early?
Yeah, the boy Matthew scored first. Aye, put them ahead.
Aye, they scored early, and I think we applied really well. Big Toddy scored a header, and I got the free kick later on. We managed to hold on for a win.
Aye, a rare win that season. We drew so many games that season.
Draws killed us. We're probably touching on it now, but I think one of the reasons that I moved on with the club were really keen to get in goal scoring power, needed some strikers in. We had some really good strikers at the time, really good players, but we just couldn't click. We just weren't getting the goals. And you're right, the draws. But I think that it was an obscene amount of draws with that season. We managed to played so well because we weren't conceding much. We were quite a rigid team at the back. With really, like I said, the back four, back five, even with the goal. But we weren't losing many goals. But we couldn't nick it. We could have turned the draws into wins. I think. Late in the season when Dick and Bert decided to punt me to get the money in, I think the money was earmarked to try to get strikers in.
Yeah, I think Owen Coyle might have come in not long after you from Motherwell.
I met Coyle ride it every time I see him, because when they sold me, they gave Coyle my jersey. I just basically put a patch on my name, put his name on it, and my jersey size and Coyle's jersey size were two different things. So Coyle blames his lack of goal scoring in the film to the fact his top was about 4 sizes too big for him.
Everybody back then just wore XL shirts, so it didn't matter what size you were.
I think I got out at the right thing. I got out maybe the season before that. Remember the skin tight ones? As soon as that came in, that was me out. That was time to retire.
Going back to that game on Sky, Adinio and David Graham had come in. They made their debut that night. What's your memories of they two boys? Did you know David from Rangers days?
No, I didn't know for Rangers. I remember. I think that season was the first season of the winter break in the Premier League, and I think every team went abroad, and Dick and Bert took us to Aviemore, warm weather training, and I think Adinio came with us. And I remember I seen the cool runnings. The guy walks out to play and he just puts all his gear on. That was the Adinio went to Aviemore. Was like, what the fuck is that? Freezing. They went there, and don't get me wrong, Dave's a good player, with good movement, and Adinio came up and his flashy flicks and turns. He got a couple of goals. Then he scored at Tynecastle. Yeah, and I one or two.
Yeah.
Again, Dick and Bert Lampard were just searching for that combination just to get us goals. Big Toddy always chipped in with his few, but we didn't have the goal scorer. We had the goal. We just when they getting the goals. Just whether it was a Dino or Davy or big Smudger or Chuck and Toddy up front, we weren't getting the regular goals that we should be getting. And I think Dick and Bert at that point were just searching for that combination. Just as far as Brazil via Bradford.
Aye, no half. That season was strange, like, because the dressing room seemed to change quite a lot. A lot of boys, your Evil Dembemas, Colin Millers, Harry Currans, Mark Millers, they're all starting to go. Derek Fleming, they all left, and then a lot of English boys were coming in. The whole culture sort of changed. It
was a huge transition, and whether it's probably revolution rather than evolution. In hindsight, I probably needed to have a bit more evolving. But you're right in terms of looking back now. There was players who had been brilliant for Dick and Bert and the club for years and years. Probably getting towards maybe the tail end, but time for a change. But it seemed to be the more at the same time. It was a lot, and they get replaced with people maybe coming in better contracts with better reputation, but maybe necessarily weren't any better than what we were losing. And when a lot of folk left, we probably lost a lot of the club. Had where a lot of the kind of you're replacing people who understand the club, and maybe people coming from the English lower leagues who maybe didn't have the same understanding of the league, the club, and just how the club operated. But we brought in some decent players, but we also lost a lot of decent players. But by losing the players, we lost a lot in the dressing room as well.
Mm-hmm. And Bert leaves that January 99.
Aye.
And then you leave at the end of January. What was that period like? Did you know you were going to leave?
Aye, I had a few offers. The club, I was Crystal Palace came in, that didn't work. I didn't fancy that. Then Aberdeen came in. Aberdeen made a really big offer, and I came into training one day, and Dick and Bert were waiting for me in the reception to say we'll accept an offer for Aberdeen. And right, okay, I'll need to give my dad a phone, and they went, no, we've spoke to him. I said, I've not got an agent, and they went, well, no, we've got you one. So I goes, I'll take you one to go then. So it was a big offer. The club even knew the club financially always need to sell to keep that kind of development going, or keep the kind of club ticking over. So I didn't know why to go. I really liked Dunfermline, and the Aberdeen one just it didn't work out. We went to Alec Miller a few times, and Aberdeen at that point were a bit of a basket case, and just wasn't for me. A few other things came in. United came in, and we went and spoke to Dun United, and we managed to agree the move. I think we were thinking Jamie Dolan. Jamie Dolan went in opposite directions. It was money plus Jamie Dolan for me. Got to Aberdeen, it was me. I think Ricky Gillis was part of the deal. So Ricky Gillis agreed terms with Dunfermline, and I didn't agree terms with Aberdeen, so I scuppered Ricky's move. I ended up playing with Ricky years later at Paddock Thistle. We kind of laughed about it a wee bit, that it just wasn't quite right. But at that point, genuinely, I was happy. I didn't want to go. The problem is that they priced me at a decent figure in value, but I wasn't been paid at that sort of rate. So my point to the firm was, if you're rating me at £750,000 or £500,000 and pay me that wage, and I'll sign for as long as you want me to sign, because genuinely I was really happy where I was. But no, I think I've spoke to Dick and Bert since that they were desperate to get in strikers. I think quite quickly after I left, I think it's in Coyle maybe a day or two later.
They did, yeah, you're right. And obviously Jamie Dolan came in as part of that swap deal as well.
But I quite quickly realised that I'd made an absolute asset, because the right one just quite quickly became, and apparently it just wasn't going to work for me. It just, that sliding doors moment, maybe right club, wrong time, or it just didn't quite work out. And always at that point, we were in a massive relegation battle with Dunfermline, which was weird, because I still stayed in a house with me and Nipper stayed with each other. So I'm staying in a house with Nipper. We're in a relegation battle with Dunfermline. I had a big affinity of the club, still stayed in Dunfermline. It was just weird.
Yeah, weird dynamics, eh? We'll touch on Dundee United in just a minute, but on reflection, your time at East End Park, 40 games, the one goal against Dundee United. Was there any games or moments that stand out for you during that time?
Just my time. Honestly, I look back in that whole time with just unbelievable pride and satisfaction. I really enjoyed it. It was just a brilliant time. I said the people that did Dunfermline, Fife in general, were very similar to what I'm used to with kind of Ayrshire mentality. I think Fifers and people at Ayrshire are very, very similar. I just loved my time up there, met a lot of good people. No, just as a club, it's a great club. It's some he's quite rightly proud of. Just on hoping amongst hope we can manage to get it back to. It's a Premier League club. It should be where it is. So hopefully you can eventually get it back in that Premier League and get re-established, because it's a brilliant place to play football. It's a brilliant. Once they get that club running and get the crowd back and get that place bouncing again, it's a hell of a place to play.
Brilliant. Yeah, hopefully one day soon, mate. Hopefully. So Dundee United, 25 games you played. You made your debut at Ibrox and you beat them 1-0. That must have been a good moment.
Aye, it started off there, and then probably that's as good as it got. It just, and that was it. It just, they done it. They just the way they played just didn't suit the way I played. But listen, I could sit and say it was done right. It just I didn't do well. It didn't work out. I didn't want to leave in the first place, Dunfermline, and when I went there for a take because I was suspended and I was cup tied. So I went down there, and I probably was there a month before I could play, because they're in the cup run. So I had a league suspension and I couldn't play in the cup game. So I was there about a month before I could actually make my debut. Then my debut was at Ibrox when they were flying at the time. So again, it was just managed to get a win. But the way United played, I played maybe wing back a wee bit, and I think if people watch with their family, I think they would tell you I ain't no wing back, and it just didn't work out.
Was that down to Paul Sturrock at the time?
It was down to me.
Right.
It was down to me. I'll be honest with you. Me and Paul Sturrock didn't see eye to eye, but I'll assume responsibility. I didn't set the hell of the light. The way United played didn't suit the way I played. But the direction was a Dunfermline. I missed Dunfermline as well, so I could sit back and look at it and say it was Dundee United. The training wasn't great, or the manager wasn't. It was me. I didn't do well enough.
Yeah. Sometimes players just aren't suited to certain clubs at certain times. Sounds like that was that kind of situation.
Anything with that point, we're a big club, but we're going through a period of time. They were struggling every season, so you still had that kind of big club mentality and the big club thought process, but you also need to be realistic. That listen, you're struggling for years, so this is where we are. Because their family would probably had the feeling where the underdog mentality. They're always fighting, they're always scrapping for every point they go, and they probably appreciated everything they had. Whereas United, although were very similar in terms of points and where they were in the league, with Dunfermline, but their outlook was completely different. Maybe the wee bit of delusion of grandeur, whereas Dunfermline were more appreciative of what they had and where they were. Whereas Dundee United were probably looked down on other clubs and other places. And I went there and I said that it just didn't work. The system didn't suit me. The training, these things. I said Dickenberg knew me as a person, knew what I needed after what I'd been through my injuries and my illness with my car accident. They knew how to work me. Whereas United probably didn't, and they quite quickly kind of cast me aside a wee bit as well. So did you say 20 games?
25 games you played at Tannadice.
25 games, so it's a lot of money for 25 games.
So you then got to move down the road to Cardiff City. So what was it like going down? Obviously they're a Welsh team, but playing in English football.
It was probably it was Dunfermline to go with my move, because it was Jonathan Gould was a Celtic goalkeeper, and he remembered me for the games against Celtic at Dunfermline, which we were always competitive against the All Firm for some reason. Dunfermline, that was never the issue with the All Firm. I think we'd good wins and draws at Ibrox. Good draws at Ibrox. I think we went and won at Parkhead. We had some really good results against the Old Firm. And Johnny Gould remembered me for the games and recommended his dad. His dad, Bobby, was the manager at Cardiff. And I went down. It was part of kind of summer man for the crazy gang. They just bought Cardiff, and they were trying to spend a few quid to go through the leagues. At that point, I was completely out the pitch at Dundee United. I think I'll go down and speak to them. Why I'd no intention of signing, because at that point I was actually still staying in Dunfermline at the time. I was travelling through to Dundee. Although was they playing, it was a lot of upheaval to go to Cardiff, because the first thing you do when Cardiff tries to say, you put the map to see where is Cardiff, and that's South Wales, is way down the south. So I didn't fancy it, but I did agree to go and speak to them. And the story being, I went and spoke to Sam Man, and he offered me a contract, and I said no. So he put another contract, and I said no. So he did that now twice, and ended up signing a 3-year deal.
Brilliant. Did you quadruple the original wages?
No, at least it was never. it was never about money. It was just it was to do with circumstances and logistics and just different things. But it was if Sam's quite an insistent guy, you end up. I agreed to do the deal and I moved in a matter of weeks later. But again, they were going through a major change. They were just chucking money trying to get through the league, so they were happy. Just every season they'd sign a new team. They just signed so many players just to get through the leagues, and that's what they did to the point that they ended up reaching the Premier League.
Yeah, and you won promotion, didn't you? Your first season.
We won promotion that year. We went up. And again, they signed so many players the following season again. So.
And then you come back up the road to Scotland. You had spells at Airdrie, Forfar, Brecon, back with Dick Campbell, and Ayr United before joining Dick again at Partick Thistle in 2005. Yeah. So what was your spell like working under Dick with various other clubs than Dunfermline?
It never changed. The best was I was at Ayr, and Ayr had changed. I was full time at Ayr, and they were going part time. And at that point, I was working. So there were certain training nights I couldn't make because I was working. So I actually phoned Dick for advice. What do you do? Because they're trying to change. I can't change my job, and we're a contract dispute, and we're getting lawyers involved, and this and that. So I phoned Dick for general advice, and Dick's advice was let him start and come and sign with me because he went to Partick Thistle. So me and Ayr came to an agreement on the Monday, and I signed with Dick on the Monday night. I think he had a player, George Rowe, had took an injury, signed a contract but then got injured, and George Rowe, I don't know George, but people in football have a really high opinion of him, refused the contract because he didn't feel as if he was fit because he had a bad knee. So Dick just basically gave you George Rowe's contract. Right. I wish George Rowe that's what made money. But no, so I went there with Dick, and we're in the same league as there that season. We ended up getting promoted that season. Dick again for the time just somebody who just you trust. Is Dick's Dick. He's brash. He's opinionated. He'll fight his own corner if he feels he's right. But as I said, somebody I've got utmost trust and respect for. Him and Bert, it's not just football. I just think they're genuinely just good human beings.
Yeah, 100% agree. You hung up your boots in 2008 after a wee spell at Stenhousemuir. So tell us, what's Scott McCulloch doing post-football since you retired? What you been up to?
I work in residential childcare. I want social work. So I did that kind of part-time towards the end of my career. Then probably retired. I retired about 31, 32. I wasn't that old when I retired, but I felt as if my career moving forward was probably more important at that time. Yes, I could have stayed playing in the lower leagues. It's no disrespect to players in the lower leagues, but I felt as if at that point I was probably, for my family and myself and to future-proof, I was better stepping away and just focusing on my next career. So I still do that yet, working in childcare, residential childcare, overseeing services, multiple services now. So that's what I've been doing for a number of years, working in that line of work. People always think it's quite funny when they ask what I'm doing now because people, the opinion is quite a fiery at football and can't believe I'm working in social work, but that's what I'm doing now.
It must be really rewarding. Obviously, there's tough situations you have to deal with, but rewarding because you're trying to improve people's lives, aren't you?
It's rewarding. It's in an ideal world, places like where I work wouldn't exist, but unfortunately, that's not the reality. We need places like this, and I think it's important that we provide services and environments that we'd happily put our own kids in. And that to me is always a mantra. If my kids ever fell on times, or somebody who I knew kids fell hard times, we need to provide services that I would happily have them in, and that's what I'm focusing on providing it now as well with my current organisation I'm working for.
Top man. Brilliant stuff, Scott. Right, reflecting on your career, over 300 games in professional football, so some questions to finish up. Who was the best player you played with and against?
Against, it'll be Brian Laudrup. I don't need to really say much there.
No, just ridiculous player.
A phenomenal footballer, ridiculously good. And I don't need to go through his career or what he was good at. He just, as a fullback, it was beyond daunting. Just a ridiculous footballer. Played with a lot of good players. Dunfermline, obviously, Greg owned a really good career. Greg was an unbelievable fullback. Greg's probably was the most consistent player Dunfermline's, in my opinion, has had. Greg was a 7 or 8 out of 10 every week. When I was there, probably even when I left. went to Cardiff, played with Robert Earnshaw's a very good player. He went on a very good career. Boys like Charlie Miller, Billy Dodge at United. Honestly, as a career, I played with so many at Rangers when I was there as well. Without playing, some of the boys you trained with were just absolutely ridiculous. But no, as players, as I said, I like to qualify players with players you like playing with, players you appreciate playing with. Like I mentioned, Harry and Shields, they're just good, solid, honest teammates. Yes, there's flash players that go and score the goals and go and have really good careers. But as a player, when you're a bit older, you end up looking back with some of the players you appreciate playing with. And Dunfermline was probably lucky that there were a lot of really good teammates at that point, a lot of good players that the fans could have an affinity with, like Stuart Peter. They're just like good, honest pros, Big Andy Smith, Lee Murray, just boys like that, just good, honest, Big Toddy and Arwan. Which boys you can trust, and I think that means a lot as a club.
Definitely. Great guys. You've maybe mentioned this one there, most underrated player.
I think Dunfermline, looking back, had more than one. You'd a few. We Shieldsy, Harry, Toddy, very underrated players, but maybe a lot of players are underrated maybe because they're local boys as well. Maybe don't appreciate because I know them brought in from afar. I mentioned earlier on Derek Ferguson in the season I played with him. I think as a professional, Derek was really struggling with injury, but Derek was an unbelievable player because he took the ball. As a fullback, we're under pressure. You want to work with midfield players that actually come and help you. Unfortunately, when you realise when you play with certain players, when you get the ball fullback, all you see is people running away. But it's like Harry took the ball. Craig Robertson, another one, really good, solid, honest pro. Always wanted the ball, Fergie. But no, I would probably say V Shields. He had a good career. V Shields was an unbelievable player. Yeah,
great guy as well. What's been the best moment in your career? If you could pick one moment.
One promotion, if you to the Cardiff, probably with Paddy Thistle. Probably in terms of satisfaction with promotion with Thistle, probably a good one because I probably a stage in my career when Dick took a punt on me and brought me in. I think I got 11 goals that season for left back. One for open play. I hasten to add, scored a lot of free kicks.
They all count, Scott.
They all count. So no, in terms of satisfaction, when at a point in my career where I was a bit of a crossroads towards the end, linking back up with Dick again and scoring, kind of repairing with the goals. The funny story is I scored, I think it was 10-11, so my contract was up the following season, so I'm thinking we'll be promoted. I've scored 11 goals. I'm saying it don't go to the club. I'll go in the next year and I'll be getting a real big contract in the back of this as a kind of thank you for Dick. So I walked in to talk to him and the exact same contract was sitting I was on the season before. I said, Dick, I scored 11 goals for you. He said, Bob, you lost 63.
Superb.
Sign there. And obviously I did because you just, when it comes to contract negotiation with Dick and Beck, you just basically do what you're told.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Did you have any superstitions as a footballer?
Nah. Nothing. Played a lot of players who did things with their boots in certain places in the queue. Or no, just and get changed. They just I think it's really worrying if players think that we get beaten a Saturday because the different socks on or they did have the same shinies. Nothing like that.
What was the most bonkers one that you witnessed? I thought, what is this boy doing?
Oh, with a few, like particularly some man, I forget what manager it was, but it's like warm-ups would never change if when winning and what it was wearing. Would they change? Sometimes you'd win a game, he was wearing a big jacket, and the next week you're playing and the same jacket was on, but it's 75 degrees. You must be absolutely sweltered. Yeah. I just think, but particularly with said clubs, when you're fishing for a win, you'll do the daftest of things. You try to. I'm not a superstitious type of person, but some of the ones I've seen known about. Players arguing with players because they want to go out last, or putting boots on funny ways, or people driving certain ways into the ground that we always go in the same way when they're on the bus. It's like, no, just get to the game. It makes the difference.
Crazy, yeah. What was the best advice you were given in your career?
Always remember, it was one of my first games with Dunfermline. It was Bert Payton, and we were playing against the Rangers, and I was quite adamant about going and proving people wrong. And Dick and Bert had a chat about, no, you need to prove people right, no wrong. The real conversation about them, what they did and the belief they had in me, how it was important to go and prove them right. and it sounds really, really, really simplistic, but having the mindset to go and prove people right rather than prove people wrong, it really, really flips your mentality. And when they spoke to me, no, go and prove us right. And when they explained that, I think, no, sir, man, you're right. I've nothing to prove to anybody apart from to you, because you're the ones that actually believe in me. So I would urge people, when they think there's somebody to prove wrong, I think there's more people in life to prove right than wrong.
Yeah, put a positive spin on it, eh? Instead of thinking negatively.
I wouldn't classify Dick and Bert as great philosophers, but what they try to prove, that deal really resonated and did throughout my career by proving people right. Even in life, there's more people to prove right than wrong.
Great stuff. Totally agree, mate. Totally agree. Final question. It was a short spell in Fife, but what did your time at Dunfermline Athletic mean to you?
It meant loads. I left Dunfermline and I continued to stay there for a while too. I've still got people I keep in contact with. I think it really, as a town, it really resonated with me, and people are kind of real affinity with, because I felt really similar to what I'm used to from a small mining town in East Ayrshire, and I felt as if the same mentality. Made good connections with Dick, who took me to about 3 or 4 different clubs after I left Dunfermline. Somebody who I classify as somebody to go for advice as well. It is a place, and as a club, it's something that the town should be proud of, and vice versa. It's a great place to play, full of really good folk. That was my abiding memory of Dunfermline. Was it to do with great players or the club? But I just found it was a place full of really good people, and that's something that as a club that you probably should be proud of. And it still is, because there's still people involved in the club there that when I was there, and it's a good club for good people.
Aye, totally agree, mate. Top man. What was it like when you came back? You came back for a game last season, didn't you? Caught up with
I came back for a game a couple of seasons ago. They played Edinburgh. Just obviously, I've not been back to East End since I stopped playing. I'm back for 20 years. It was just so different. The improvements to the ground. Oh, you walk in the main door now, and it used to be dressing rooms. Now it's all kind of corporate boxes and hospitality. So even wee things like that, when you walk in, you think, like, where's the dressing rooms? And because the dressing rooms, when I was one of the most luxurious. And Dick and Bert's room down towards the wee bit where they played head tennis and that as well. So it's all changed. Facilities now are really good. Obviously, they're massively investing in infrastructure and training facilities and just the community stuff, which is massively important. But no, it's the ground at that point. We didn't have much as players. We weren't earning very much, but just that shared ownership of the club and the stewardship. You just want to take the club forward as that united front. It's great to see the improvements it's making there. As I said, just hopefully in the next season you can see that replicated in the league positioning, get them up the league. I genuinely believe that getting the Premier League, you can become quite quickly established, because there's no reason when you see other teams that's come up and managed to establish themselves, they're firm in terms of infrastructure and what they're going in terms of crowds. You probably see the crowds when Dunfermline's successful, the crowds will come back. It's like once they see it, Field of Dreams, build it and they'll come. And I think Dunfermline's the same. I think once they get somebody get behind that kind of shared cause, I think the town and the outlying areas will get behind the club, and that's only good for the future.
Brilliant, Scott. Well, hopefully we'll see you back at a game in the near future as well. Just give us a shout if you fancy taking a game in.
Yeah, I'll need to try and get back up. It's some. I wouldn't go as far as say regret, but it's something neat, because I don't really take in much fit at that level now. I'd probably like to be a bit more active in terms of going and watch my old club. So no, it's probably something I'll do in the not too distant future. It was great when I came through, because I brought my kids. My son came through also. I went down a hospitality day with Thistle with my daughter. It's good to remind the kids that I was actually a player once.
Superb, mate. Brilliant. Scott, superb for chatting to us, and thanks very much for your time. I enjoyed it.
I appreciate that, and kind of thanks for having me on. Also, when you see your list of past greats that's involved in the podcast, it's great to be rubbing shoulders with some of them as well. So thanks for your time.
Thanks for listening to Walking Down the Holbeath Road, and a massive thank you to our latest guest, Scott McCulloch, for sharing his stories and insights on the game. And of course, all of you are fantastic listeners for once again joining us. Don't forget to subscribe to Walking Down the Holbeath Road on your favourite podcast platform. This podcast was produced by Jan McCulloch and music supplied by Stuart Dusty Miller. Thanks once again for listening, and We look forward to walking down the Holbeath Road once again next month.